It has been called the world's best worst movie. If you've never seen it before, The Room was the brainchild of a very strange-looking man by the name of Tommy Wiseau, who self-funded this whole film about his life, and it's bizarre. But the man he dragged into that world was Greg Sestero. Greg was an upcoming actor, and then he got roped into co-starring in this film that has now become cult legend. And in fact, the story behind The Room has become a new film. The new film is called The Disaster Artist. It is based on Greg's book, and he joins us here now. Greg, take me back to the beginning. How did you meet Tommy Wiseau?
I was pretty much at rock bottom at that point. I was ready to give up on acting. I didn't have any support from family. I had a French mom who believed I should have been a lawyer or a doctor, and I was throwing my life away. And I watched this very bizarre man who looked a cross between a pirate and a caveman go up and perform this Shakespearean sonnet that I could not understand. Everybody in the class was horrified, and there was just something liberating about watching him not care and argue with the teacher and show no fear that I thought, let's find out who this guy is. I was really the only one in the class that wasn't scared of him, and I approached him to do a scene together.
I want to know about how a movie of The Disaster Artist started coming about, right? So the book is out. At what point does somebody come up to you and go, yes, the story behind this movie is insane and should be on the big screen? How does that conversation go?
Well, starting out 7 years ago, my whole goal with the book was for it to become a film. 3 weeks after it was published, James Franco was working on the interview and read it. And he said halfway through, he'd never heard of The Room, he'd never seen it. Halfway through reading the book, he knew he wanted to make it. He knew he wanted to play Tommy, and he knew he wanted his brother to play me. He said it was one of the most insane Hollywood stories he'd ever read.
And he would have heard a few over the years, I imagine.
And he reached out and he wrote a review of the book that was spot on. He said it was a kind of a combination of Boogie Nights and The Master.
Oh my God.
Which is brilliant,
Yeah, wow.
and is a huge, huge compliment considering I'm a huge P.T. Anderson fan. To get a book made into a film takes a lot of passion. You got to fight through a lot of things. You got to raise the money. You got to have producers in place. And he championed the story and made it into a film.
Tommy is not quite right. I don't think I'm stepping out of the bounds of, civility to suggest that there's something not quite right with Tommy. Something may have happened along the road. You're not quite laughing at it, but you are laughing with it, and it's sort of, there's a very delicate line. Like, do you feel that way about the film, or do you have that degree of objectivity about it?
We've stated in the book and it states in the film, Tommy's on his own planet, and you can't really compare him to anybody else or his creation to anybody else because it doesn't fit. And that's what we're witnessing, somebody who is defying the odds by not giving up. And what we have, the result of that is an alien film that we don't understand. It's taken us 15 years, still screening all over the world. And so I think it's really a truthful but loving portrayal and honest, because if you were to glamorize Tommy, the story doesn't hold up.
And there are some scenes in there where you really kind of show up that Tommy treated a lot of the people on that set really quite poorly.
Tommy is a unique communicator. He's not somebody I'd hire to communicate. So I was trying to kind of fill in the blanks and keep everybody cool as much as possible.
When was the moment when you had to sit down and watch the film for the first time? Because I think the way the film constructed is a slightly more compressed version of what really happened. Is that right? Yeah,
I got a chance to see the rough cut with my family. My mom was horrified. I think her 2 words were, "Oh no." And then later she told me, she was kind of celebrating inside because she's like, the Hollywood dream is over. He's going to move home. That's it.
I want to meet your mom. Your mom sounds like fun.
She's like, I got my wish. There's no way this thing's going anywhere. And I've never seen my dad laugh harder, which was weird because he likes more traditional entertainment. And then I got to see it with an audience at the premiere, and that was really scary because it was people that I did not know, and then we're actually seeing this for the first time, and there's laughter throughout the entire film.
And was that the moment, or was the dad the moment when you realized that what had been created was unintentionally comedic?
I knew it was unintentionally comedic. I didn't know to which the degree that it was until I saw it with strangers.
Yeah, right.
Because I knew my dad would laugh. It's kind of an inside joke. But when strangers were laughing as Tommy was blowing his head off, I didn't know that would happen. Yeah, it was literally like watching a brilliant comedy come to life. And I think Tommy was stunned. He said to me, "People laugh at everything." And yeah, within a week it was changed to experience this quirky new black comedy. So
did he recognize that? He recognized that there was an opportunity
he recognized it. And then I think ultimately for Tommy, he said, when people see my movie, they won't sleep for 2 weeks. So his goal was to get a huge reaction from an audience, and he did. It just wasn't in the way he intended. So he rolled with it and figured, hey, I kind of meant for it to be partly funny. Let's roll with that.
What about you? Like, this is not necessarily the career that you embarked upon. You've now become an award-winning writer, with the book, and you've led to the creation of a movie in a way. Is this necessarily what you set out doing, or are you kind of happy to kind of roll with the adventure?
I mean, yeah, you'd never expect to be in a terrible film and be still talking about it 15 years later, and for it to be so insane that that story became its own film. But to me, I'd rather have something like that be so insane and be part of something that will probably live on forever than just have done like some episodes of Dawson's Creek and a few sci-fi movies. I think this is more rewarding if you could be open to the fascinating parts of it.
Of all of the things that have become massively cultishly popular in the film, so it's the "Oh hi Marks" or the "You're tearing me apart" or those lines that people quote, which one of those things surprised you that people would enjoy so much? Because some of it you can kind of see, but you must have a very different perspective on it.
I knew the "High Mark" thing was funny because my mom was quoting that before the movie ever came out, so I knew there was something there that it had. But I think it's just the participation throughout the film.
The throwing of spoons. That's
the spoon thing is
so
nuts.
Weird.
I'm just surprised people were willing to endure those sex scenes.
Because you left the cinema every time. I
still have never watched those sex scenes. They feel like they're 100 minutes long. I thought that was going to be the part that nobody would sit through.
Yeah.
So that's been amazing, and just the brilliant things people come up with throughout every scene. They find beats in that film that I didn't even know existed.
And you were quite insistent on like keeping your jeans on, whereas Tommy was very happy to be as naked as humanly possible.
He said that he needs to show his ass or this movie won't sell. And I was like, man, that's all your glory. Let's put all that on you.
Right. What is it that people get wrong about Tommy?
I think that he's all weird. I think, you have obviously the bizarre physical presence and the way he talks, but there's actually a very lovable, charming side to Tommy that is very engaging, very witty. And I think if you can kind of get past the exterior, he's just a guy like all of us that wants to be cared about.
What do you put, like, so much of the appeal of The Room in terms of how it was constructed for him, he seems to be very in love with Americana. Why is he so into that idea?
Because I'm sure he's lived other places that didn't accept him and that he's always felt like he couldn't have the life he always wanted. And something about coming to America, whatever happened in those years before I met him, I'm still trying to figure that out. It gave him that freedom mentally and physically to be more of who he wanted to be. He celebrates America for giving him that chance.
What's the thing about The Room that you're most keen to forget? The thing, like, actually, I don't ever want to remember that moment.
Sex scenes. Outside of that, I can handle it. I think it's the sex scenes that are, and the ending of the movie is painful to watch. Because I've always prided myself on if there's an emotional moment in a film where you have to act, I've always prided myself on really going there. And those glycerin tears just shine way too bright, and it's just humiliating. But outside of that, I'm pretty good sport.
All right. How long did it take you to get to that point, though? Like, was there a point where you're just like, I can't even think about this production?
Well, here's the thing. I never expected anything from The Room. I never, like, really tried hard. I think it would be a lot harder if I gave put my heart into the performance and people are laughing all the way through it. I was kind of going through the motions, so I had a feeling of what it was going to be. So I kind of understand the audience. You kind of suck in certain parts, and it's like, yeah, guys, I get it. So I've always had a sense of humor about it.
All right, there is lots more of this in the podcast of Download the Show. You can find it right now on whichever podcast app you like, and The Disaster Artist is out now.